So welcome to What's Arising, and I wish you just an amazing new year. The topic for this time was a little slow at coming. I'd hoped to do this podcast at the beginning of the year, but it's kind of been flowing to me, and it wasn't really ready. I hope it's ready now, and it's really about finding your flow and even waiting on the flow in some respects. Waiting before you jump in and do a bunch of things, getting an insight into what wants to happen from the future. So before I get into finding your flow, I'm going to ring my bowl to ring in the new year. And I invite you, as I ring the bowl 3 times, I invite you in that first ring to allow yourself to travel back into the last year, into 2023, and notice what you need to let go of from 2023. Just what no longer needs to come forward. What can you say no to? And also, what's the momentum that started in 2023? There might be some things that just have this momentum that want to keep on going. You've made a start in 23 and you see that moving forward in some way. There's a channel that has started being built. You've started a seed. In the second ring of the bowl, I invite you to just travel out into the future and connect with the future, the field that wants to come into being, the beingness out there. What wants to happen from the future? What is calling to you? What's that destiny, that dream? Not fantasy, but what do you anticipate that wants to happen from the future? And in the third ring, I would like you to just come back to the present. Notice what's here now in the present and what's arising from this look at the past and look into the future, and bringing that future and bringing that past together in the now, in the present. And we're going to talk a lot about the past and the momentum and the future, and bringing that forward in this particular podcast in finding your flow. So here we go. I invite you to close your eyes, maybe relax, and listen to the bells as you travel into the past, out there into the future, and then back to the present to be here right now. So once again, this podcast is about finding your flow. And wow, wouldn't it be amazing if somehow there was a just synchronicity and flow in 2024. In my last podcast, I talked about opening to synchronicity and flow, and some more information on this year kind of arrived here on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which I'll share with you, which is directly related to creating a momentum, a flow I think in 2024. So let's get into that. When I consider flow, I consider the metaphor of water and the metaphor of a river, water flowing down a river. It's a metaphor that's been used many times, but water is a really interesting element, of course, and I know you know this. It kind of finds the easy way. It goes downhill. It doesn't go uphill unless mechanically we push it uphill, but it always finds the easy way downhill. So in terms of flow, how do we find the easy way versus the hard way, pushing things, forcing things to happen? So sitting in the easy way. Water is also soft, at least in its liquid form, but also extremely powerful. You'll know that it cuts through rocks over time. It is not a weak element in any way. It is very, very powerful, and it has this patience of time and this movement. Water on the landscape in some way is always moving to the ocean. So it's moving back to this togetherness in the vast ocean. So we might look at the symbolism of that, of going back into the ocean, to the oneness, the unity of all human beings and all life, and connecting us with the source. And it's also, if you talk about water, and you also talk about the beginning as its source, and we're in the source of 24 yet. We're in the beginning, and we're going to talk more about that. So water has that interesting part of the metaphor. It also has its cycles. It will go to the ocean and then return through evaporation back to the mountains, the snow, and again go back down that channel down into the ocean. Water as an element holds vibration, and if you've seen material from Dr. Emoto, who studied water crystals, it holds vibration, and we're made of water. So there's a vibration within us, and the water that we consume and the water that is impacting us in the terms of vibration gets absorbed in the water and the vibration. So being around good vibrations, great music, classical, high quality energy music is a good thing. Being around in peaceful environments, being in nature, changes your vibration. So water is this vibration and holds this vibration, good and distorted, ugly in a sense. And we all came from water. We were born in a womb. We were born in water, and we live in water in terms of life. Water sustains us. We need water. All of life needs water to sustain itself. So I love this metaphor of water when we're looking at flow. How can we flow like water in strength? The easy way in 2024. What are some of the characteristics of how we get there? and how do we flow in 24 and beyond in a turbulent world, which is coming. I want to talk about that too. So from water, let's go to the metaphor of rivers. And rivers have many paths to source, back to the ocean. Some are slow and meandering, and there's still waters, and it kind of peacefully, slowly going downstream. Lots of things on the bank to look at along the way. Maybe some pools and slow eddies to hang around in. So there's those kinds of channels. And then there's these rapids, these waterfalls, these fast channels and there's also these direct channels to the ocean, just right to the ocean. Which channel are you on? Historically, every river has a way that it's cut through to the ocean. The tributaries coming into the bigger river and the bigger river. But these are set in history, in the past. It's been cut. Unless it's a new one that's coming out of a great storm and a new channel gets created. A lot of these are historic channels. And some of them are very deep, in deep canyons. So as a metaphor, the river, we can also look at that and our own channel going forward. What is your channel? What's its direction? What's the destiny? And what's ahead? What's around the bend? That's the kind of the future. We can look back in the channel of the river, and we flowed down so far. Maybe we're actually swimming upstream too, but we're flowing down, and there's something ahead already formed in the channel from the water that's gone before, or a life stream that's sent out ahead of us. There's something that is coming around the bend. What's your channel? You will have a channel, and humanity right now has a channel. And I would suggest that the channel that humanity is on right now is in a lot of turbulence. This in 2024, there are many things that are going to be exposed in our society. Many things that are going into destruction, like institutions. I think we'll see a further destruction of institutions and disruptions in economies and health and things like this that are down the road, if not in 24 beyond. So we have created from our past, from the historical ways of being, we are in turbulent times. This river is difficult right now. There's probably some waterfalls for some of us that we may not easily survive. Not to put fear in you, but it's just a recognition of what seems to be coming on the horizon for humanity. These channels that are already created. So with that, this influence of your own channel and destiny coming from what you chose to be and create and move in this life, and this channel of the human collective also in this turbulent time, moving in a direction towards something through our evolutionary process. What is happening out there in the future for you and humanity? And how do you find your flow within that, with all that's going on? So these are the things I was considering in the new year, and what was my flow, or what was some of the core messages for flow for me in 2024. So in contemplating that, I was sitting there, and then I had a look at my cell phone. Now, I talked about synchronicity last time, And one of the synchronicities that kind of always happens to me is these numbers, these notifications on my cell phone, and this alignment or lining up of numbers. So sometimes, as I said, I might see 222 at and or a 22 and a 22 and a 222 at 22:22 in the afternoon. And that has happened. So craziness like this. And so I pay attention to these synchronizations and see if they mean anything or where I can go from them. So on New Year's Day, I had one of these on New Year's Eve, but I'll go into New Year's Day first and then go back to New Year's Eve. On New Year's Day, I saw the number 41 in two places on my phone notifications. So a 41 in one place and a 41 in another. And that guided me to the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. I'm not sure if you're aware or know of the Gene Keys. I'll put some links to the Gene Keys in the notes, because the Gene Keys talks about shadow and gift and the Siddhic level, the enlightened level of 64 different keys, 64 different archetypes that live within us and in our DNA. And I've found it personally to be a great guide, because when I first discovered the Gene Keys and did my own profile, I looked at my profile and started contemplating, and said, wow, this has been the unfolding of my life. This has been my life path through the Gene Keys and what's emerging forward. So I encourage you, if you don't know the Gene Keys, go to the site or search for Richard Rudd and Gene Keys, as in genetics, Gene Keys, and do a free profile and notice what's in your profile of shadows and gifts and the Siddhic level, that Siddhic level that's pulling you forward into the highest expression of what you or humanity can be, that ocean, that source. So I noticed Gene Key 41. So I went on my phone, I had an ebook, and so I went to one particular book called The 64 Ways by Richard Rudd. And interesting enough, I already had it open or placed at Gene Key 41. I didn't know that Gene Key 41 was there. I'd been looking through it the day before at other Gene Keys, and somehow I'd left off at Gene Key 41. So it was already there. And the page number of Gene Key 41 within that app, that ebook app, was page number 888, which was also meaningful to me. So this is the kind of synchronicity that says, something is happening here. What's this about? Why? What could 41 be all about? And then it was totally appropriate for me, and I think for you or anyone listening to this podcast, the message in Gene Key 41 for the new year. Because Gene Key 41 represents something called a start codon. When we have a genetic in our DNA, when the DNA is being transcribed into protein, there's these keys of amino acids in a particular order, particular frequency that says, we're starting anew here. We're starting to build a new protein here. And then there's another one later on. So every time a new protein is made, there's a start codon. So how appropriate is that? It's like the end of a previous experience or protein, and then the start of a new. So here I was on January 1st, and the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. And so what's important also about that is the way Gene Key 41 is explained in terms of its shadow, its gift, and its siddhi. So the shadow of of Gene Key 41, the start codon, is called fantasy. And this is about dreams and fantasies of creation, but not actually making it happen because it wasn't meant to happen. It's like a fantasy. It might be even a should or a conditioning from society of I'm going to do this year, but it's not its time. It's coming from outside of us or something, or it's not real. It's not really going to happen. So what do we tend to do in terms of New Year's resolutions? We get fixed on some kind of fantasy very often, and we try to make it happen through force. And because it's really a fantasy, it was never meant to happen, not in our life stream or not the timing, it doesn't happen. And we get disappointed, maybe feel shame, and once again, we don't complete because we don't have all the resources, or it was really just a fantasy. You could say on an extreme, so in 2024, I'm going to be a millionaire when you have nothing. Now, that could happen, and it might be in your flow, but for many, depending on your situation, it may not be. It probably isn't for somebody coming from poverty, but hey, it might be. But that's the anticipation. So this shadow is about letting go of fantasies and actually stepping into the gift of anticipation. Anticipation is sensing out into the future. What wants to happen? In terms of the stream, or the river, around the bend, out there, what can we intuit about what wants to happen? This is the feminine energy, looking out there into the future, into the intuition, and sensing into the future and bringing that back, as I invited you to do in the ringing of the bowl, bringing something from future back, and then going, this is what wants to happen. This feels right. This feels doable. I have the beliefs to go there, and the world, the things around me seem to be supporting this particular flow. So what if, as a person or as an organization, you can sense into what wants to happen in relationship to the systems that are in place in the world, and you say, this is what's possible, and we step into what's possible and our true potential. So this is the gift of anticipation in Gene Key 41. What if we could come to that place? And from that place, then we have the flow. We know where the river is going, and all we have to do is take the easy way down towards it versus swimming upstream to some kind of fantasy or trying to get into a different channel that is, we have no hope of crawling out of our river and getting into a channel that's not in our life stream. Now, the dilemma of Gene Key 41 is the dilemma of planning, which is also very appropriate for New Year's. How often do we get stuck into planning and getting fixed on our plan, and in that fixation on the plan, get worn out or exhausted and unable to move forward? So this is about planning is good. That's the masculine. Planning, strategizing, but in relationship to what's anticipated versus a fantasy, and also holding on to those goals lightly as you start to move downriver towards what's anticipated. The world is also changing. Things may happen, and you may need to look again into the future or notice something else coming in and make adjustments. I used to, when I was younger, travel, and I had this detailed plan about all the places I wanted to go, and it was quite regimental. I wanted to see this and this and this and this, and I had a strict plan. Now that was good. There's nothing wrong with planning. I'm a planner by nature. But if you don't allow flexibility in, you miss some of the opportunities for emergence, for something exciting, new, fresh to happen in those travels. And when I learned in later years to be open to what wants to come in, this new emergence from the future, I got surprised. I met new people in different relationships that I would have never had if I stuck to my plan. So make the goals, but hold them lightly. Be prepared to be flexible, not be resilient and be directive. If it's meant to happen, there are times when we need to, yes, stay with it and discipline and go forward, but be sensitive to when that no longer wants to emerge in your life, that the direction of the river has changed. There's been a storm. Life is a journey. It has a beginning and an end. So we're at the beginning of this journey into 2024. There will be an ending. What channel are you in? What's flowing from the past already? What's the momentum? What is the turbulence like? Is it meandering slowly right now? Can you be still within the river? And if this is a time to just be still, be still. Maybe that sense of anticipation hasn't emerged yet. Maybe that's in a couple of weeks. Maybe this is still a time for you to let go of a few things from the past and heal. Be sensitive to that. And there's lots of things you just don't have control over. You don't have control over that moment of some of the things that have happened in the past that are sending you in this direction. Your genes and your soul is sending you in direction. Some things are outside your control. What's happening in the world in this turbulence, many of those things are outside of your control. But what is in your control along the river is your attitude towards what's happening, your happiness, your perceptions and the meaning making you make around the things that are happening outside of you and inside of you and around you and your friends and family, those disturbances. You can choose to forgive and let go and surrender and love and be curious in the flow. You have those choices. You have lots of choices. There might be some crossroads at times where the river breaks, and you have a choice in your control to go down that river or that river. Sense into both. Stop. Sense into both and decide which river you want to go down. Do you want to go down a river of hate and destruction and unforgiveness? Or is there another river that looks like peace and love and growth and other things that you want? Do you want this turbulent river? Do you want to attach yourself to the collective that's in so much turbulence and hate and war and blame and shame right now? Or are you going to go inside and change your outlook and attitude and heal within those times that will come in this coming year? So there are traps, there are eddies. How do you navigate your river of life? And how does that river correspond to the river of the collective, of a humanity and where it's going? As I said, humanity is probably going into and is already in a very, very turbulent time. And if you are not paying attention and taking care of your own river and the channel and where you're navigating, this could be very difficult. So that's Gene Key 41. Gene Key 37 is what arose on New Year's Eve, which was also very interesting for me personally. And Gene Key 37 gives us a sense of where the river is going, the human river is going, and maybe how you might participate in that, creating that destination. And maybe a bunch of rivers can come together right now to create a new future for humanity. So once again, I noticed 37 in a couple of places on my cell phone, and I went and looked up gene key 37. And this was the sense of where the human river, this evolution, is taking humanity, and maybe a bit about my role, our role in supporting and being in service to that direction. Gene key 37 is about this synergy, this uniting of the human family. So instead of the genetic relatives that we have in that family, which is in many cases highly dysfunctional, it's this vision of the future that is a reunification of the human family, this unfolding towards loving and caring for all of humanity, not looking at other races as different from you, or other worldviews, other cultures as different for you, but part of this human family, and moving towards this place in our world. Now, this may be a ways in our future, but it needs to be built now. And right now, there's this disintegration of our human family, this polarization, this splitting into tribes and families and protection and everything else. So this being our current experience, there are many people being called to reweave the fabric of humanity into its wholeness. Us being a single organism, all human beings being part of a single organism of the human family that is meant to be in synergy and with all of life on earth, and holding it in reverence. The gene key 37 is at the shadow level is weakness, and at the gift level is equality, and the acidic level is tenderness. And this gene key, although it's about the human family and reestablishing community and synergy and a coming together of honoring each other and caring and loving and trusting one another, it's also very much about the masculine and feminine energies and the balance. And as I felt into this gene key 37 and the masculine, feminine, and beyond, it's like a new way of the yin and yang, the masculine and feminine, showing up in a new synergy that is almost unborn, right? So in our past, we have had this masculine forcing, pushing, this paternalistic energy, the masculine being in control. And we're still very much in that, the channel, the momentum of those energies, but they're dying. The feminine energies of coming in. And you can think about males and females, but it's more about the masculine and feminine, because the masculine and feminine also lives in us. So it's bringing those energies into balance. And that's really important also as we look forward in our plans, in our flow in the new year, is there's weakness if one or the other is out of balance. And the masculine is meant to follow the feminine. That's why I said go into the future with the intuition and the insight. Get that first in the feminine energy, and then from the masculine energy, then make the plans and strategize and support and protect the idea and the insight you get from the feminine energy. So you want to pay a lot of attention to this equality within yourself and this expansion of yourself, and really going above and beyond, so that in a sense this yin and yang is connected and merged and supporting each other in the appropriate balance and archetypes, so that this synergy can create your future. But this synergy and this change in humanity is also coming forward in our collective after or as this turbulence goes through, we will start to gravitate and learn and say, enough of this old world and the way we've developed. Not that it was wrong, it was evolution, so in some ways it must have been right, but something else, the human family, this human connection out of this experience is in the calling. It wants to be born. This new relationship with the feminine leading the masculine in balance, in synergy with each other. Also within this synergy of the masculine and the feminine, there is this sense of the mother energy. That comes almost from the Siddhic level, this tenderness, the Mother Earth, the mother unconditional, loving energy that's going to support this emergent world, this human family. Now, that doesn't mean that parts of the human family won't be restricted in some way. Say, a mother will say, no, there's a boundary here. This is a behavior that we cannot accept. So there will be those things, but it's done from love, those barriers, those boundaries, those things. And if it's done from love, from that inner calling, that knowing of a healthy mother archetype, there's not trauma in that. It's a nurturing. It's an opening. It's a trusting process that the mother holds in love for the child. Guidance energy, a harmony energy from the mother. So I encourage you to look at that in your life and your planning, your look forward into 2024, and what's your role in that direction? Is that your role? How do you support this coming back to the human family? Where do you need to surrender and let go and forgive so that you can be clearly in this evolutionary channel to a new earth? Finally, I want to talk a little bit about what's unfolding for me with these gene keys, and particularly gene key 37, and invite you into what I'm doing, because that's completely aligned, this 37, in what the momentum that I've had in 2023 going into 2024. In 2023, I started to create a structure and an experience called Cohering Community. And the idea of Cohering Community is building these circles of coherent, trusting, loving families, in a sense, not genetic families, but families that can rebuild trust in our society from the bottom up, that can hold the disruptions, the shadows of each person, and hold the healing of trauma, and then get into such a synergy that they can see insights together of what wants to emerge for that group for a particular purpose, and start to co-create that together. And this maybe this circle interconnected with that circle, and reweaving the fabric of society from the bottom up, because I don't believe we're going to be successful from the top down, in particular not the top down control structures that are there in the hierarchy. So this is more about how do we rebuild from the community sense and the heterarchy, this bottom up, from a sense of trust upwards. In the world today, and you may be feeling it, there is a deep longing for belonging. So this is a container or a place where you can get a sense of belonging, finding your group, and a process that helps you connect and feel like you belong, that you're seen and heard, and your talents and gifts are received, and you receive other gifts of and from others and support from others. So there's a supporting group, a safe group, create a co-creation group, and I'm wanting to create and propagate many of these and invite people in to lead these circles of trust and love and caring and co-creation, so that we can change our world together. What can you create in community that you cannot create alone? So I invite you to feel into that if it makes sense. You can go, it's on my Elevate Work website, but you can also go to www.cohering.community. So instead of .com, it's community. Cohering.community will take you to the page, and there'll be more updates than that in the future. I'm reworking the program, but this is where all of my energy is going to. This is the momentum and the calling. And we had in a group just end of last year an experiment of this, and it was a phenomenal experience. We're still digesting that and then improving upon it, but we had some beautiful souls come together and connect through some beautiful conversations with deep growth for everyone. So I think in these turbulent times, we're going to all need those supportive communities where we can unwind. One group that I'm in that also came from a Cohering Community process, we've called ourselves an oasis, a place where we can come unjudged, let down our armor and open up and learn together and share and let go of trauma. And I would love to see these circles, or this capacity for circles, propagated throughout humanity, so that we can create harmony and we can create this new earth. And there's many other leaders that are doing similar things. So if you're not attracted to the Cohering Community that I'm created, please find another place where you belong, and be careful about what you're attracted to. There's a lot of, in the search for belonging, there's a lot of people gravitating to people with the same biases, the same worldview, and sometimes those aren't healthy. So to really discern the groups that you're coming into, is this leading me down a rabbit hole? Are there consequences? Is it life-giving or life-depleting? Is it based on anger and war, supporting those parts and those shadows within you? Or is it something that will open up your heart and allow for a more constructive initiative and impact around changing our world or serving humanity in some positive way? Does it support you and your purpose and meaning in life? So I'll put those things in the show notes. If you found this podcast valuable, this was a long one. If you found it valuable, please share it with your friends. Subscribe, comment. What's your flow? Have you found your flow? And if I can help you find your flow, either through Cohering Community or through a private session with me, come join me in a free discovery session from my website. If you're in business, have an organization, and your team, you want to find your flow for your team, or connect with how you can create those environments which are more flowing versus forcing, more community versus this hierarchical structure, learning how to get into heterarchy, which is the new way of new generation of organizations and leadership, then also give me a call, and you can go to elevatework.ca to find more about the business aspect of this. Have an amazing new year, and I hope to see you again.